My friends. If you guys remember what we talked about a week ago, Jeff, my friend, we talked about busway, feeder busways. We talked about feeder busways and plug-in busways. This is basically continuation of the busway system. When we talk about, guys, industrial power system, one of the highlights of distribution system in an industrial plant is bus stops, really. Because we in a commercial building, you can use a lot of conduit and wire and cables and so forth. The industrial plants, plug-in busways, feeder busways, and trolley busways become substantially important, or very, very important in these applications. So, just a quick reminder, guys. Here's the busway system that we have. We have two feeder busways in this plant, right? We also have the plug-in busways that we talked about. These pink ones, Brian, my friend, the pink ones, A, B, C, and D, are the plug-in busways that we're going to be talking about. Plug-in busways that we're going to be talking about. A few things about the plug-in busway, guys. Identify features of trolley busways. Trolley busways. We talked about the plug-in. Plug-in, you have to plug them in to feed the loads. The trolley busways, guys, you can move the load. The load will move along a predetermined track. That's really the advantage of it. The idea is if you have a welder in your hand, Jeff, and you need to weld in multiple locations, instead of plugging and unplugging that welder, three-phase welder, you can actually disconnect it. You can de-energize that welder, pull that welder along a track from point A to point B to a different machines, and continue to do your work. Cool? So that's kind of the whole idea of this. The other thing, guys, that we have too, so we have for the machines, the other thing is we have lighting trolley. Believe it or not, they can tie lighting fixture to a trolley, feed a lighting fixture to a trolley. Now, why on earth would you feed multiple fixture from a trolley busway? Anybody can figure, why would you put lights on a trolley? Anybody? Why would you put lights on a trolley? Well, suppose that you are on the manufacturing floor, and say a certain part of the year, most of your work in the northeast corner or the north part of the building, and the other part of the year could be in the south part of the building, or vice versa. You can go track all your lights, pull the majority of the lights to that area, and get more lights in that area, and then pull them back to the south part when it's needed, when you're working the south. So you can adjust the location of lighting fixtures. Yeah, you can pull them as spotlights for the machines, but these are general lights actually. These are general lights fed from a trolley busway. So you can pull these lights to concentrate in certain areas if needed. You don't have to, but if needed. That's probably a unique application of a trolley busway, where you can plug the lights into that trolley busway and move it. Components to support the cord drops. All these guys, busways, the common denominator between all of them, they use some type of an ASO cords like these, to support them. So we'll talk about the support and the cord drops that you need to do for these trolleys. All these trolleys in the manufacturing floor that you're looking at, gentlemen, you're looking at A, B, C, and D. These are the four trolleys that we have in this project. All of them are 100 amp. They are 100 amp three-phase system. 100 amp three-phase system. Industrial trolleys, 100 amp enclosed bus bars. Enclosed bus bars electrical system. Are you guys okay? Yeah. So enclosed bus bars, what they do is they have phase A, phase B, phase C, and a neutral panel, exactly like a feeder busway or a plug-in busways. The only difference is you can move the loads along a predetermined track. Provide current to equipment through trolleys. That's the whole idea of, guys. You have that trolley that moves. The notoriously famous difference is moves with the particular object being assembled. So you can move it with the particular object being assembled from point A along a predetermined area. You can't just move it everywhere else. So if you have an assembly line for 200 feet, you can basically take one of these trolleys and make that trolley move along the 50 feet. So you can go on the assembly line, different location to weld or solder or cut or you can imagine. Any comments, guys, about the trolleys? That's really the key word, is move along with the particular object being assembled. With the particular object being assembled. So you can move it. No exposed live parts, nothing is exposed. Obviously you can't. And why do we care about it? It eliminates the hazard coming from portable cords. The difference, okay, how can we get away without a trolley busway? Say if you have an assembly line and you're following that big generator that you're assembling, right? When we go to Cummins, you guys are going to see a big assembly line. They take a generator, start with a big metal thing here with windings, and all of a sudden it looks like a big generator with enclosure and control and all the stuff. And they go into different assembly lines. So we start at the beginning of the assembly line. And in order to work on this piece of equipment, you have two options. Either you have trolley busway that you can move it along a predetermined track, or you can plug and unplug the equipment as you move through the long assembly line. So you can imagine every time plug and unplug, what happened? These are three-phase plugs. You expose yourself to more hazard, electrocution hazard, arc hazard, damage of the equipment, and so forth. So plugged into the outlet from lower level. So it's more safe, it's safer, more unique. Keep the equipment above, keep all the tools above you. The trolleys that we have now, do we have trolleys, Aaron, in our project? We don't have in our project the 25,000 square foot industrial plant that we have, manufacturing plant, does not have a trolley busway, just FYI. We only have feeder busways and plug-in busways. When you guys, not next week, the week after, when you start working on layout of the power, no trolley busways. Be my guest if you want to, but it's not required. In this project, the project that we have, the industrial project, guys, we have 4 busways. There, my friend, you're looking at them right in here. These are the pink ones. It is busway, trolley busway A, B, C, and D. Each one of them is fed separately, independently, from 100 amp feeder coming from the panels. So the way they were doing, they take this is 100 amp, they're bringing a feeder to the end of it, and they're coming and feeding it from panels that located along the perimeter. These panels, they're feeding them from these panels. That's how they did it in this project. So a trolley busway, I can feed a trolley busway. You can put the trolley right here at the end of it. There will be a junction box, right? Termination box. You bring your conduit into it and go all the way to the panel that you needed to feed it from. So that's the one that we have. Constructed with straight sections with joint end to end. Like you can see, look how they are all the way straight in our application. They can make it with a curve that you can curve around to. Typically straight sections, the easiest. 10 foot long, but they will custom design any length for you, like Jerry yesterday said, guys, you can custom design anything, but typically 10. Curved sections are also available. If you want to go one section here and go around this way with that trolley busway, no problem, they can make that one for you. So you can imagine, but the most important thing, guys, imagine there's an assembly line right here. You put this one right at the top of the assembly line. So how many trolleys can you have in a busway? The manufacturer will decide. You can have 10, 20 trolleys moving along the same busway. You're going to see in a second here. It's really cool stuff. Here's the busway, trolley busway. So you're connecting multiple of these trolleys in here with a cord, and you're moving them along the predetermined track of these 10-foot section. Okay. I don't want that one. Now the rest of it is just guys describing trolley number, this one, trolley A. Trolley A, look how many feet. There's 68 feet of them. They're all 3-phase drop sections inserted at about the midpoint of the run. So they have the way they're feeding it, looks like they're feeding it right in here. I don't know if you guys can see that section here. Right in this, where they brought the power, right in the middle of it. You can bring the power in the middle of it, Jeff, or on the sides. So they're bringing that one in the middle. This is important for you guys when you put your busways. What's the height that they're suspending these baby at? 8 foot. So they're bringing it 8 foot above the floor, and they're using, if you're a project manager and estimator, you pay a lot of attention to this. They're using a 12-gauge steel hangers to hold them at 8 foot off finished floor. Why these are important, guys? You have never hanged these. That will give you an idea, typically, how they hang these things. 8 foot, not 8 foot or higher. Typically, all these equipments are put at 8 foot. You don't want to put anything lower than 8 feet, right? Capped with end plate and pumper assembly. So they cap each end plate, obviously, for safety. Here's what you're looking at, guys, the sections, the support sections that they use. They recommend support, Jeff, of 5 feet for these systems. And in sections, bus connectors where you can connect to the buses right in here. And your trolley will be running along the track. Any comments, any questions about this one, guys? Everyone understand it's the only case you need, instead of plugging into it, you actually, you can move that trolley along the predetermined track. So that's basically the deal. Feed-in adapter, they call it feed-in adapter. Feed the busway run with power supply from the panel. The term at the end or in the middle or any side of it, guys, they can have a what called feed-in adapter. Nothing but a box, Adam, that they bring conduits and wires tied to that trolley busway. That's what they call it, feed-in adapter. And these are fit from where? From the panel. They are fit from the panel. So here's my panel. I take 100 amp, 100 amp, all the way to the end. This is my feed-in adapter. And from right in here, I put my trolley busway, Up to this point, that will be a conduit, and wire. And this will be the trolley busway. Does that make sense? How they bring a feeder into a junction box or so-called feed-in adapter and they feed the busway. You don't have to take the trolley busway all the way to the panel. Pressure type, wire termination, a couple of things about termination. Conduit brings power to the trolley, like we said, 100 amp circuit will run. So here's what we said, here's my 100 amp feeding through a feed-in adapter all the way to the plug-in busways or the trolley busways. Any comments, any questions about this, guys? Comments, questions? Straightforward, really not a whole lot. Okay, so the adapters, the cross-in sections, several type available. So the trolleys, guys, is the box. That box that goes along that track. These are called the trolleys. They have fused or unfused, typically fused loads. Fusible box type tool hanger. So they have a fusible box tool hanger. You'll look at it in a second here. So that's where you attach to the trolley busway, and you have a plug and a cord, and from one end, from the other end, you have the equipment that you need to plug in. Okay, so that's your toolbox here, and with the cord at the end and attached to the trolley busway here. So you have heavy duty rating, hinged cover, polar type fuse cutouts. You're going to look at them in a second. Plug-in receptacle and clamp cords. This particular one and they have 8 wheels, guys, because you have to have wheels as they move along. 8 wheels and 4 side thrust rollers for connections. Here's what you're looking at. Where did it go? Here you go. Here's what they're describing, guys. They're describing the contact shoes. That's where you get contact with phase A, phase B, and phase C, and then they have wheels, so you can wheel them. You have fuses. Everybody can see the fuses, fuse for each one. You have the plug, and you have the SO cord that ties to the equipment, and you have the ability to tool hanger where you can hang your tools. That's your trolley that moving along the trolley busway. Any comments, any questions, guys, about that? That's what they're describing. At the end could be a welder, electric riveter. You could be a welder, could be any machine, any tool, any machine. You can imagine how important this in an assembly line. Cool. You can look at the plug. The plug is, they call it polarized, guys. So you have phase A, phase B, X, Y, Z, phase A, phase B, and phase C, and the ground. Typically, the equipment that we use, Aaron, are 3-phase equipment on these. So you don't use single-phase equipment, though you can. So typically 3-phase equipment. So this particular tool is a 3-phase tool. Any comments, guys? Any questions? Look at the plug. So you plug him in. That will act as your disconnect. Everybody understand? Because the equipment needs a disconnect. There is no disconnect here. Do you see any disconnect here? There is no disconnect. So the plug acts as your disconnect. The overcome protection device here, 20 amps, acts as an overcome protection device to protect the cord as well as the equipment. Right? Still a motor. You need to protect it from overload. And right, there's an electrical motor here. You need to protect it from overload as well as short circuit. Here's your 20 amp. You need to protect it from disconnect it for safety. Here's your disconnect. Unplug it. Any comments, guys? Any questions? You need to control it. How do you control it? Well, of course, these are machines. They have their own control. Any comments, any questions? So that's your trolley that goes with a trolley busway. So that's, we talked about all these, the 8 wheels and the 4 side rollers that they build them through. And then just this talks about the shoes, guys. The type of the ponds, shoes that bring the power to it. They make contact with the buses, so you bring the power into the tool through these shoes. They provide a path that continues through the fuses, so into the 4-wire rubber cord. 4-wire cords for 3-phase, and you have 4 conductors. Typically, the cords that you're going to have, it's going to be 3-phase 4-wire. Why 3-phase 4-wire, Jeff? You're going to have 3-phase conductors and equivalent grounding conductor. So you're looking at an SO cord, very exactly like this one that you're looking at. Here, actually, we have, I don't know if we have a neutral, but this one has a neutral. The only difference, this one has a neutral. You're looking at a plug like this with an SO cord like this one, tied to these equipment. Any comments, any questions? 4 conductors plus a ground. That's the cable that you use. Here's what we're describing, the 4 conductor cable. Typically 4 conductors plus a ground. Here's the configuration for it, the NEMA configuration for this one. Any comments, guys? Any questions about the trolley and how it's made? Right? So here's your fuses for overconduction device. Here's how they tie into the equipment. Here's where you get your power from here. You disconnect the equipment, you roll that baby to a different location, and then you connect. Okay. And then the rest of it, guys, is you have to have a conduit to, like we said, the conduit all the way from the feed-in adapter all the way to the panel. So you need to feed the trolley busways. Here's my trolley busways right here. I need to bring a conduit from here all the way to the panel to feed it. 100 bus feeder circuit will run in these conduit from, so then you have to have 100 amp circuit breaker with conductors inside the conduit. That's just how you feed the busways. Okay, busway B. Busway B, you're looking at busway B right here, gentlemen, right in here. This is busway B. This baby happened to be 131 feet. You can see how they can be long trolley busways. Conduit runs must be routed to confirm to the structural of the building in this particular one. Require how many trolleys? They're installing in 131 feet. They're installing 9 trolleys. So 9 of these. To do 9 of these is installed in 131 feet. How many can you install? As many as you need, as long as you don't overload the equipment. So you have to do a load calculation on that, right? So that's basically 9 of them in that particular one. C, here's C, Jeff. C is right in here. Here's they put it right in here in this manufacturing floor. C has a 96 feet of it connected to the panel board to feed in exactly like an adapter located at the end. This one, their adapter right here at the end, where they tie the power to it, and it has 6 trolleys. Why 6 trolleys? Typically, the number of the trolleys, guys, is equivalent to number of the equipment that you need to use. So if I need 6 welders, will be 6 trolleys, right? Each one of them connected to a trolley. Any comment, any questions about the trolleys? So that's C. Again, C is right in here. Just a quick reminder, we are not having him in our project, but that's a good idea to know. D. The last one, guys, is D, right in here. Somebody can see D. D, the same thing. We have, here's the how many of them we have. Installed methods, the same as the others. Conduit and wires. This baby has an 8 trolleys installed in it, and they're feeding it from the end. Feed in, box at the end. Any comments, guys? Any questions about these 4 trolleys installed in the project that we have? Any comments, any questions? So when you are hired, Kerry, my friend, to do an industrial plant, and you need to look at an example that has been done, what better than an example right here? Here's an example right in front of you to design your trolley busway in a manufacturing floor. Now, Zach, my friend, you might never hire to do this, but if you are, here's an example right in front of you. Does that make sense why we go over this, guys? It's examples. Our industry is all based on examples, right? You give it a good example that you can mirror this example in if you need it. Okay, all the trolleys, the 4 of them that we have here, all of them are 3-phase, 208. Could they be 480, 277? Yes. Could they be 240? Yes. 100 amp. Attachment plugs are polarized. When they're polarized, meaning phase A has to go exactly where phase A is. What happens, guys, if you flip phase A and phase B on a 3-phase machine? You spin it reverse. Now, if you instead of tightening something, you untighten that particular thing. So estimate reverse the direction of rotation. So that's why they're polarized. Advantages of these: increased amount of work can be completed because people are not plugging and unplugging. Assembly line production, managers love it. Neater and safe production area, so your tools are hanging at the top of the assembly line instead of everywhere, laying everywhere in different locations.
Can you go higher than 100 amps?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But typically, guys, all the plug-in busways, here's why it's not a good idea to go higher than 100 amp or 225 amp plug-in, for example. Do you really want to put more than 225 amp worth of loads? These are like your eggs in one basket. Do you really want to have 1,000 amp plug-in busway? If it trips, if something happened, it could trip and shuts down every single load on it. So what they do eventually, what they did here for the plug-in, they took every 225 amp and they broke it for one reason, because of maintenance. Number one, if you want to maintain it, because if you have a short circuit in one section, you don't want to take the whole everything else. So if from a maintenance point of view, from a diversity of the load, it's a good idea to chunk them in chunks of 100 amp or 225 amp, like plug-in buses. That's all. So for maintenance, like the same thing. Can I have a panel, that 600 amp panel, and put all my receptacles in it? Yes. It's a bad idea. Voltage drop. Look at the voltage drop issues in that thing. And look at, if something happened to this panel, you lost 600 amp worth of power in the whole building. What's the better option? The better option is to have 2 or 3 225 amp panels and separate them in different locations. So that's kind of chunking the load, guys. Putting chunks of the loads in different panels is good for maintenance, good for survivability of the system. To buy bigger, it actually, yes, more expensive, but it solved the problem with your voltage drop in this case too, because now you have a panel and you put that panel where the load is located, right in the middle of it. Okay, lighting. Here's what they did in lighting. That's kind of a unique, guys. They have 180 fluorescent luminaires, 180 fluorescent suspended from a 50 amp trolley busway. So they have a trolley busway and they suspended 180 fluorescent luminaires from that trolley busway. So they can move them along the manufacturing floor. That's their decision. Trolley entrance and cabs, close the end of the duct runs, provide entrance point for the insertion and removal of the trolleys. So all these parts of the construction. So now they have a trolley that feeds all the busways. Here's the trolley. I believe that's the one that feeding the busway. They use a messenger. Who cares about the messenger? If you're a project manager and you want to buy a busway, the first thing you need to ask yourself, how am I going to support that baby? One way is a messenger and rods right here. You can see in every 3 feet in this case, based on the height, 3 to 5 feet, and they're supporting them from a structural ceiling, right? Yeah. Well, depending upon how far the messenger is too, you might have to support the messenger at different intervals. Yeah. This could be going 400 feet from one end to another through a wire. So then you might skip here and go support it based on the weight of the. So it's one wire, but you have to support it too. So using a messenger, and again, I'm not an expert in the construction of these, using the messenger will minimize the amount of rods that you have to support all the way to the building. Minimize it. If you don't use a messenger, then you have to have a rod going every. Yeah, a lot of support every 5 feet or so. If you have a messenger, you might have to put them every 20 feet, rod all the way going up, or every 30 feet, depending on the load and so forth. So that's your support system. Here's the feed-in box. You can easily see, guys, you're bringing the wires here, you're tapping them, from both sides. That's in the center. It could be, this is in the center of the trolley busway. It could be at the end of the trolley busway. Very simple, bringing the power to it. Trolley busways provided with the 2 cover busways. Here's the, in this part, this is, they're talking about the lighting. This is the lighting. The lighting is, I think it's 120 or 240, the lighting system that they use. And the cross-section area of the bars is this amount of circular mill, and they're capable of handling 50 amp at 250 volts. So they're burning, what looks like they're burning their equipment light at 240 single phase. So that's why they need 2 bars. Remember, that's just a special trolley for lights. Single phase trolley, 50 amp, just for your lights. So that just give you another application of this trolley. Here's your phases, the buses. Remember how we, the one that we had yesterday too. Equipped with a trolley, equipped with cord clamps and grounding screws. A little bit about that one. The light that they're using in the industrial plant is fluorescent luminaires. It's a fluorescent, here's the catalog number for them, 96 watt, and the actual watt of the fixture rated at, okay, F96T12. Who uses T12 anymore? Interesting. And VHOs, and they are taking 215 watts. Equipped with lead lag adapter, support at center by trolley attachment. So these are the type of the system that they're using. Different hardware, guys. Heavy duty, weight support. You look at them at your own convenience. Lighting in the boiler room, they have using paddleboard supplies, a light and receptacle needed in this area. Luminaires, as used in the manufacturing area, the same type of luminaires, suspended by chains. So this is just a few things about the light system that they're using in the boiler room. They're using chain suspended fluorescent luminaires to lit this area. Again, we're looking at the project that they have, guys. Okay, the cords. You're looking at it, Jamie, right behind you here. You're looking at an SJ rubber cord. 4 conductors, 3 phase and a neutral, the one that we use for the equipment. Heavy duty usage. The color coding is black, red, and white in this case, plus green. And green is reserved in particular for your grounding. 2 methods for supporting them, guys. You can use EMT or rigid to support them. Rubber cord drops from the bus plugs. So you can either use cords in this case, or you can use a conduit for connecting to them. Any comments, guys, about the SJ drops that you use? SJ drops, you're looking at it to tie to the equipment. So that's here's what we're looking at, the drops that's coming. I don't know if you guys can see that coming all the way here, suspended all the way down to the machines that you're going to feed from here. Okay, now strain relief. Every time, these don't have it, every time you have an SO cord is suspended from the ceiling, you're going to have a strain relief piece right here attached to the connector. So when it goes, the weight of the cable is not going to be pulling on the connectors, the electric connectors. It will be pulling from the weight from the box itself, because it's directly connected to the connector. That's what they use, these ones, and they're rated based on the pounds and the weight and the strength, their strength. So long story short, it doesn't, here's what you're looking at. As you tie this down, say 20 feet, and you tie to the equipment, the weight of the cord is going to be supported from right in here. Can you guys see that? How it grabs on the cable and support, the weight will be supported by the box, not by the connectors. Otherwise, we'll be pulling on the connectors. The last thing you want to do is have hot connectors and you're pulling, the weight is supported from the electrical connectors. So anyway, typical that you support your cord. So when you're a project manager, Kerry, that's what you're going to be paying attention when you put your SO cord. Here's what they size them based on the pounds, how many pounds it can handle, what's the breaking pounds for each one of them, the length, no load length, and the diameter for each one of them. So you get into, the manufacturer, guys, will help you a lot with these. as you start sizing them. Okay, application bus drop and strain relief. Look at all these applications that you can go through, guys, from supporting it from here into here into here. All these are different ways of supporting your cords into here. You can see how many ways of supporting these cords that you suspend them. Any comments, any questions based on application? Based on the application that you have. So there's so many, like busways, guys, there's so many hardware and so many ways of supporting these cords. Okay, so that's basically all what we have about this. I think I have a couple of before I let you, a couple of disregard here pictures. I think we went over that one, went over that. Really the most important thing is this is the trolley and the plug-in. That's a new concept, and connecting them right here and wheeling them, plus bringing the power into them. So that's really the major concept. Support, we talked about support to suite building over here, and different type of connections. We got that. The strain relief, got that one, it's got that one. And this is just the hardware, guys. This is easy to zoom in. Look at this. This is a 40-pound or 80-pound safety spring that support it. Here's the grip that grips on the cable from both sides. So when it comes to that detail, you always contact the manufacturers with different details that comes with it. There's a lot of manufacturer ISO cords that be more than happy to give you any of these details based on where you are. You know, remember, you're bringing these cables, sometimes they're coming down 50 feet from the ceiling or 20 feet. When we go tomorrow, guys, to Boston Scientific, I would like you to look at all the cords that they have. They have a busway system that we're going to be looking at, and all these cord that are coming from the busway system, feeding the machine, and how they support them. It's really interesting. What they did, because it becomes a zoo, almost it's actually a forest of cables. If you look there, it used to be a forest. What they did lately is, instead of all these machines, look at, I think there's one good example of that. I don't know if I have it here. Here's your trolley that's going to be moving along and bringing the power. Here's a good example of how your trolley sits with the tools. Neat, unique application. Okay, so here's your lights. It looks like these lights, I don't know if you guys can see, these lights are attached directly to the busway. And you can move them along the track. So that's how they designed the system. Connection, busway, talked about that one. They want to go directly into these and show you how we did. Okay, can you guys see this forest of cables coming all the way down? What they did, that used to be at Boston Scientific the same way. What they did is they grouped them. They grabbed one from here, for example, and from here, and from here, and from here, and they brought them down through a sleeve. So that's what they did. To make it nicer, you're going to see when you go there, they grabbed them, they brought them all the way up through a jacket or a sleeve that they put them right through it, and then they split them at the end. When you go there, you're going to be looking at, it used to be, again, each one of them is coming independently, so you're looking at basically trees everywhere, all these forests of cables. That's one way of grouping and making them look better. Any comments, any questions about trolley busways?
Would that make it more expensive?
Not really. What they did, that's aftermath. I think that's what they did, them aftermath. It used to be when we used to go there, each one of them was coming like this. But then you look into it and you can't see anything. It's all cables coming all the way down, look ugly. So they just grouped them together, and I'm sure they have to buy this one. It adds some expense to it. The question would be, do they have to derate? Depending on what type of sleeve they put here. If it's a conduit, then now you're bringing cables, multiple cables carrying current, you have to derate. I don't think it was a conduit that they put them, some type of a sleeve that they put on them, just to group them together. Yeah. Any comments, any questions, guys, about plug-in busways? This is your first and the last time you guys are going to hear about plug-in busways. So, summarize. We talked about 3 busways, guys. We talked about the feeder busway, the blue thing, 2 of them in our manufacturing floor. Plug-in busways, these are the yellow ones, 225 amp each. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 2, 10 of them. And then we talk about plug-in busway, and we have 4 of them located predetermined. The location have been predetermined right at the top of the assembly line. If you guys ever get into a manufacturing floor, here's your 3 very good options for bringing power to your manufacturing assembly line. Any comments, any questions? What I want to encourage you guys tomorrow when we go to Boston Scientific, please look for the trolley. I'm not sure if they have a trolley busways, but definitely they have feeder busways. You can look at feeder busways, and you will be looking at plug-in busways. Okay? Any comments, any questions?
We used to have the on-off, the controls for the machine that were on from those string from the Chinese finger things.
Yeah.
String relays, that's how they mounted all those. But it wasn't a trolley busway.
Directly to.
Yeah,
To the plug-in.
control.
Yeah, the only difference, the only difference is you just, trolley will allow you to move. Yeah, you still have the strain relief, you still have that one, even if you don't have a trolley busways. Yeah. Okay, I would like to go over one more chapter, guys, ambiguity. I'll give you 5 minutes to recoup, and then I'll go over it. Thank you.